All right, welcome past the mic. It is Friday, August 15th, 2025, episode 172. We are on Zoom.
172. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
172, yes. Mike, how are you this week?
I am super. We had a great day today. How are you? I assume you're good too.
We did. We had a great day. We're going to talk about that in our education topic. I just got back from Top Golf. First time I really swung a golf club. Swang. Jeez.
Swang.
Uh,
Mike, I said swum the other day. I was trying to say the past tense of swim, and I started saying swum, and I was like,
I
I,
know.
I
I guess
caught
I,
myself.
I spent too much time in Ohio. Both of us did. It's rubbing off on us.
Yep.
Um, uh,
Jill,
but
Jill, and Bill Burguy are not going to like that comment.
But it was all right. I think maybe I should golf more at the course. Like one of my friends, when I told him I hadn't played since college, says like riding a bike. And it's weird how it really is, took about 10, 15 swings and then you're back into it. I mean, I'm not hitting it as far as I was 30 years ago, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So,
Well, good for you.
um, feedback and errors. I don't think we had any errors. Feedback, speaking of Ohio, Max's brother, when I mentioned my trip through Ohio and sort of said, the South, Ohio, he quickly shot that down, that Ohio's not the South. And his
Mhm.
reasoning, and what I said, it was sort of like the bridge to the South, because like when we talked about like Southern Cincinnati into Kentucky, but the reasoning, Ohio is nothing. It's a member of nothing, so they leech onto anything they can get. I believe
Yeah.
is
Wow.
what I'm paraphrasing a little
Yeah, of
bit. I don't
course.
want to,
Right. Right.
I don't, but that was basically the terminology that was used for what Ohio does. And when you think about it, it really it's pretty accurate. But I guess I'd be the same with Indiana. Any of those ones just south of us are not far north enough to be like Minnesota, Michigan,
Yeah. I mean, Indiana, and we're certainly
Iowa.
we're going back historically here, but Indiana was the birthplace of the Ku Klux Klan.
Okay.
Not trying to denigrate the South completely, but certainly the Klan was much more prevalent in the South than the North, although there were places around here, and a couple cities that aren't very far from us. One in particular comes to mind, even in Michigan, that was noted for its claverns. So yeah, it's a fair assessment on their part, on Todd's part, I should say.
And then Max did have commentary about the colored golf balls and the range finders. And he wanted Chloe and Sarah to know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to drag Chloe and Sarah along to a third episode, but that as you get older, those are some things that are needed.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's start with Evie.
oh,
She
yeah, that's
wanted,
right. She did. She sent us that nice text message.
yeah, very, very thoughtful. Cleveland is underrated. Lake Erie lakefront is outstanding. Nice beach, Christmas story house. She mentions our old friend, Andy Babowski, great kid. He's not a kid anymore for sure. But when he went to law school, he had his tires slashed, with the Michigan plates. So again, that's kind of well, Evie never does anything rudely, a
That
polite
is
dig at me.
that is absolutely crazy that that kind of stuff happens.
It really is. And again, like I said, from my limited experience, in the Hocking Hills area, Ohio State fans were everywhere, but it was playful banter. But again, I did have a friend that went there and he kind of had similar stories. And he actually, I don't know if I mentioned this last week or not, but he actually went there a Michigan fan or Michigan, Ohio State fan, and came home a Michigan fan because he said their fans were too obnoxious. And he's a person that can't stand Michigan fans. So kind of amusing there. She also, the type of camp, this is again, just Evie again, the type of camp Tessa mentioned in the previous episode is wonderful. Evie herself volunteered at one called the North Star Reach. The campers there had cancer, sickle cell, and cystic fibrosis. Everyone from the pool to the cabins were specifically designed to accommodate the campers and give them the experience. Um, so there's her. Max, he's been pulled over twice in Ohio, but was not given a ticket. So sort of playing both sides there, agreeing with the notion that Michigan people have to watch out, but he didn't get a ticket. He loves the Waffle House and Bojangles, or he loves that Waffle House and Bojangles are your criteria for better restaurants. I was thinking Max said he loved Waffle House, and that didn't add up to me of him being a Waffle House person. Um, Max likes PNC as one of the best parks. Camden, though, is still his favorite. Wrigley ranks high too because of its old-fashioned charm. I was actually at Wrigley for the 2002 home opener. Gary Bailey got a lot from the Baileys, and we're going to talk more about Gary today.
Yes, definitely.
Overrated is Cincinnati. Underrated is Toledo. Go Rockets. Underrated Pro Football Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Blue Hole. Snake Eating Egg Mound. Overrated Ohio Stadium was great as a unique horseshoe. Nothing special now. Um, Interesting. We had a little interesting. Did I don't think I checked this a couple times. Gary called out politely, of course, called out the Ren Dog. Okay, Ren Dog, Major League Baseball, and I don't. Ren Dog didn't comment this week, did he?
Rendon's been laying low, but he's been very busy. He's been working like the Tigers were on a homestand, and I noticed he works every game. Like and
Yeah.
now and they are now in Chicago.
Okay.
So he might plus he works as he's probably pretty busy. So I'm guessing
Okay.
if the
Um,
Tigers are on a homestand, I tend to hear less from the Rendog.
his Major League Baseball Mike of the Week was Mike Hessman, the real life Crash Davis. Are you familiar
Okay.
with Bull Durham? For those folks that might be a little bit older in our age bracket. From his brother, thank you cards are not needed, provided you could thank the person face to face or via text or phone call or whatever. And then, he went into the Ohio is not the South. So there it is. Quite a bit of feedback from the Baileys this week.
Yes, yes. And speaking of that, let's do my mic of the week, and then we'll
Okay,
bridge into what our education
sure.
topic is. Breaking news. This is hot off the press. We're recording this on the 13th on Wednesday. President Trump, the Kennedy Center, or I believe it's the Melania Center now. I don't. Is that what it's called now? Did they rename it? Is it
Uh, that's so
the
sweet,
Honors
isn't it?
Awards? Well, he is selected. Word on the street is he's selected. And again, I'm not knocking anything. I don't know how. I can't act like I know how before the honors were selected. Sly Stallone was mentioned as one. That's to be something that you're excited about. But the one that I noticed, are you familiar with Phantom of the Opera, the Broadway play?
I'm familiar with the play, yes.
Yeah. So way back when we were like in school, the lead at that time, do you know who that was that played the Phantom?
I do not.
British citizen, 83 years old, Michael Crawford.
Okay.
And yeah, he is being President Trump picked him. I saw something too as I was pulling up his bio. What was it? Was it one of Bush's inauguration? He sang at one of Bush's inauguration, music of the night.
I was just going to ask that Trump tends to not pick people unless they are loyal to him. Sylvester
Yeah,
Stallone's a big Trump
I don't
fan.
know how much Michael Crawford's hanging around.
Well,
I mean,
he
he's a
must
British
be.
citizen.
You're right, but he must. And you just said he sang at the Republican inaugural,
Well,
but I.
Bush many years ago.
Right, and it's certainly a
I mean,
different Republican
no
Party
offense
now.
to Michael Crawford. I mean, Sly Stallone's still doing stuff. He's doing that TV show, right? Tulsa
Yeah,
or like but
was it
I don't know
Tulsa
what
King?
Tulsa. I don't know what Michael Crawford's doing. I mean, he's not
Well,
still the Phantom, is he?
yeah, I don't know, but Sly Stallone, I know, is a big Trump fan. In fact,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken, he equated him with George Washington.
Oh,
So yeah, that's
all right. Well,
interesting.
mine is Michael Crawford, 83 years old. Congratulations. You're being honored at the Kennedy Center. So
Okay,
I'm not going to sing any snippets from Phantom of the Opera.
sounds good.
All right, education topic, and we said we were going to talk about. So today we've been hinting at a little bit what we were doing. Well, today at Grosse Ile Presbyterian Church, and this has been a year in the making, right?
Yeah, longer than that even.
Yes, Christine and Gary Bailey. We mentioned Gary all the time. His lovely wife, Christine, reached out to us earlier back in the spring of last year, spring of 24,
Yeah,
right? And said, hey, this is a group that raises money for a scholarship for a female, outstanding female leader,
yeah.
and they do presentations at the church after one of their meetings, various meetings. And she asked us, Gary's hyped up the podcast and asked us if we would present on our podcast, consuming just podcasting basically, because and again, I'm, I, it tends to be that this is something that more younger people know about. It's like anything else. You stumble across something, you don't even know it's there. And so we agreed. And then she's like, okay, how's this date? And it was like August
August
13th
13th. Yeah,
of
just
2025.
yeah,
And we were like, man, they
sure.
really book out in advance, which is great. Like,
Yeah.
so we put it in our calendar. We had a meeting, and today was the day we had worked together on. We did a little presentation. They had a full spread. I know Max is going to be surprised. I didn't eat anything
You didn't eat
because,
anything. You
which is shocking. And it's not because it didn't look good. This stuff, they had a great spread. It looked amazing. In all honesty, I was on a tight calendar because even though I gave my wife a time that we'd be done, and she's like, okay, pick me up 45 minutes later downtown. And then we were going to do we every year we do something in the last quote unquote day with the kids now that they're going away to school. So today we did Top Golf as a family, as I mentioned earlier. So I would have loved to have stuck around and ate a little bit, but I couldn't. So we're just going to talk about how that went for us today. Your thoughts. and just what it was like going out there and spreading the word a little bit about not just pass the mic. We don't want the Allen Park duo to think that we're trying to hype up numbers here. What do you want to say?
So I'll start with a couple things. Gary Bailey you mentioned hype. He was like our hype man,
Oh,
and
he was great.
he
He
was
was
great.
great.
And he reminded us of things during our presentation. He brought up different things, our stock questions when we have guests. He brought that up because I hadn't thought of that. It's wonderful, as much as I'm very close to the Baileys. Obviously, they make me laugh, especially Max and his overall demeanor and seriousness. But there's another aspect to them that's it's just remarkable. And his dad, Gary, was absolutely outstanding. I can't express that enough, Gary. It's so nice having you as a listener. Um, you gave me my moment. I think to this point, there's been like good moments where Darren Camilleri was on, so forth and so on. When Gary said, who cares what you guys think? That might have been the funniest thing that I've heard out here. But man, he was outstanding today. Who knew he was such a good presenter, good speaker? So that part was really cool. I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, Mike, so I'm going to let you kind of talk a little bit too. But at the end, when some of the ladies came up to us to talk to us after, you could tell there was genuine interest in what we do. There was remarkable questions. There was compliments. The questions during the Q&A session were outstanding. And, you had kind of put together a script for us to sort of follow. I took notes. And to me, it works perfect when things are off the cuff and we sort of just went off script, and I think it's more authentic in those circumstances. So it was even better than that. So all around, man, I cannot say enough about today. I was kind of nervous going in, and I left with just the best feeling in the world. So it was truly, to everybody involved, to everybody that's listening that was there, you really made my day, my week, my month. It was outstanding.
Yeah, I want to thank the Baileys as well. They did a great job preparing it. It was the technology to use there. It was beautiful. It was Wi-Fi. I mean, we think about like when we're doing stuff at work, we're trying to get stuff on a screen. It takes like I walked in, this lady had me on their board over their wireless network in seconds. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And let me, if you don't mind me interrupting
Yeah,
one last thing,
no,
I'm sorry. At the end, I want to let the listener know this too. Chris Bailey, and Max has told me she prefers Chris, so I'll say that she, kind of closed it out, and the things that she said about educators wasn't necessary, but it was so touching. And there were some educators in the crowd too, so I think they know the heart and soul that goes into this job. But when you read the message boards, we came across something this week on debtnews.com. The majority of things, and it's unfortunately it sticks in your memory, is negative. And to hear somebody say that, so Chris, I want to thank you for that too. That was so heartwarming.
yeah, that was great. That was a very nice way to wrap things up. And so it was well prepared. And I knew it was going to be well prepared. I wasn't worried about that. It was actually ahead of schedule, which was good, especially for
Sure.
my. And then we actually probably presented longer
Yeah,
than
we
what was the
did.
original time because we started early and we ended at the original time, which is fine. And like you said too, we had a slideshow, we had a presentation, we had an outline, but much like this show, we let the crowd sort of dictate where we
Yeah.
went and questions and that sort of thing, which is nice. We covered everything and beyond what we had. The audience was, it's like we said, we talked about this before with presentations. The audience was engaged. They had questions. I know when we put up like our contact info, people took pictures. Some people we could hear. All of a sudden, we heard audio of the show going on because
Yeah.
somebody had went and found an
So they went
episode and
right.
started playing it like like anyone does. Their speakers too loud. I had somebody else that asking us where the Facebook page was. And again, we explained to at the best of our ability to say, hey, we're giving you some. This definitely isn't enough. It's 45 minutes. For
Hmm.
like creating your own show, there's a lot more to it. We're still learning 172 episodes into it. So, that's again, I couldn't have it couldn't have gone any better. And then of course, again, a big shout out to the group and the Baileys. They had very nice. They didn't have to. We did not need any gifts. They came back. They
Yeah.
came in. They gave you like a very nice sign to celebrate your wedding. They gave me a great the last Steelers Super Bowl over the Cardinals. Like this Pittsburgh City of Champions. It has the score of the game. Has every game they played that season's score on it. It's very cool. And then Gary had a couple T-shirts for us as well. Again, not we did this because they expressed interest in it.
Yeah.
We feel as if not yes to pat ourselves on the back. We're 172 episodes in, much further than we ever thought we'd make it. So why not go out to a group that does things for others? why don't we go out and do something for them? And and so far, initial feedback, like you said, some of the people that came up and spoke with us after that feedback, and Gary has already sent us an email saying how people were still talking about it. Because I think what happens is that each person in that group every once in a while has to find somebody. So we helped Chris. She came to us, and it worked out very well. And again, Gary did not have to be there and add in, and he did a great job.
Yeah, he
He
did.
looked sharp too. He looked sharp
Oh
today. He had
my
that
God,
nice blazer.
we were very underdressed. Nice blazer,
Yes,
very nice colors, nice color scheme, and yeah, again, Gary is. I don't know how much public speaking he does, but I was so impressed by how comfortable he was. I don't know too many people who could do that don't do it regularly. So just again, I cannot express enough how grateful I am to how kind and like Gary said, who cares what we say? We just do this for our own fun, right? I mean, and we like that people listen. I would love that people listen, but we don't expect anything from anybody. And to have the back and forth with them throughout this thing, and it was just amazing. So quite an experience.
and we did Tom Pack. We did plug you very much so, and shared one of your photo collages because we are so very proud of. We gave shout outs to a lot of our people,
Gotcha.
Aaron.
Aaron Torres. Yes, we
Yep,
want to make sure tends to
yep.
get upset if we don't mention her. So she
Yes,
was
yes,
mentioned.
yes. And I told
Um,
yes, I'm always willing to give her a bonus, and she deserves that plug and Tom Pack's photo. So that's definitely there. So anything else you want to add about it?
No, I want again. I'll just say this to the people who are listening that were there. Thank you. Truly,
Yeah, great
you thanked
audience
us. We
members.
thank you. I mean,
Yep.
it was amazing. So
And like we said, hopefully you get some use out of it. Looks like some people were. They already looking at stuff. And again, it's something very, like I said, the nice thing about podcasts, consuming them, there's no commitment.
right.
There's no financial commitment, unlike a streaming network or a book or this sort of
Hmm.
thing. Other than your data, I guess, or your phone. Like you got to
Yeah.
got to pay for it. But I mean, everyone has data or internet, so that's that. So, all right, overrated, underrated this week. It's getting to be that time. They got what, 2 games under their belt or 1 game, 2 games, right?
Two.
Oh, one and a half. They stopped that game early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cheer. Awful. Awful.
So the Detroit Lions, that's our overrated, underrated. What do you have as your overrated?
So I have to start by saying this as one of the biggest Lions fans I know. I'm a probably bigger Piston fan. This is overrated, doesn't mean bad. But the Lions are going into this year with two new coordinators, the best center in the last decade ish, having retired late in the game, an injury to one of the top five defensive tackles in football. He probably won't be around till maybe Halloween at the earliest. And I think Lions fans are still of this belief that they can be as good as they were. Now, again, it doesn't mean I hope they make the Super Bowl. I pray they make the Super Bowl. I think at some point it's going to happen here, with this regime in the next 4, 5, 6 years. It could happen this year. But if you were to say to Lions fans and say team A, whoever the team is, that is what this team went through in the offseason, you would say 10 times out of 10, that team's going to have a fall off. I think Lions fans, we have had such limited success around here in our lifetimes and in everybody's lifetime that's listening, that any sort of success is just considered to be so remarkable that we put ourselves on this other platform that we really don't belong on. It's kind of like I remember Brad Holmes, as much as everybody loves Brad Holmes, saying after they got knocked out in the NFC Championship game, I keep receipts and like, man, we didn't win the Super Bowl, And so I think my overrated is I think Lions fans we have had such limited success that overrated is this. The last 3-ish years of success, I think, has diluted them into thinking that we are more than we are at this point. If that makes sense. We haven't
No, I
achieved,
totally understand what you're saying. Totally understand what you're
and
saying.
we
And
have said, you and I have said it, that NFC Championship game, when the book is written on this era, we'll see where they end up. I hope we don't really regret that NFC Championship game. You have a 24-7 lead at the half and lose the game. Like you got to win that game. Uh,
well, and then I think too, even last year, the Washington game, like
yeah.
you were the number one seed. It's hard to
Rookie
get that.
quarterback. Yeah.
I mean, they should have won that game. They were the better team, top to
Hmm.
bottom, injuries or whatever. So, My overrated, and again, this is one where it clearly does not equal bad because I don't want anyone jumping on me. Is Jared Goff? He is overrated, but I would take him in a heartbeat to be the Steelers quarterback. So
Of
let me just
course.
again, I'm saying that right now. But that's the whole NFC quarterback picture anyway. Um, please understand, I don't think again, they are in a good, they're in a better spot than my team. I'll give you that, but I just think that he has a limit, a cap. And man, and again, it reminds me a lot of like the Steelers before Ben Roethlisberger, like like Neil O'Donnell, for example. He could get you somewhere. He could get you there. He was,
Mhm.
but when it came down to it, I don't think he was going to win them the game or be the
Sure.
guy. You know what I mean? Like he's better than average. He's good, but I just think sometimes like hometown blindness sometimes. And again, he's a great guy. I'm not.
Sure.
Oh, this is one of the best ones that overrated doesn't equal bad. Again, I would take him tomorrow instead of Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Uh, the NFC is just in a situation where, and ironically, they won the Super Bowl last year because of how stacked the Philadelphia defense was. But the AFC quarterbacks, if you're a young quarterback, you almost want to go to the NFC
Right.
because you now have to go like it's like Lamar Jackson. Look at him, like the guys, both these guys, Lamar Jackson and up in Buffalo, they can't get
Josh
past
Allen.
Kansas
Yeah.
City. Joe Burrow had an awful. He's probably the best of those three,
Yeah.
and he's going to be around. So it's just that's what I mean. I mean, it's not easy, and that goes back to what you said about the NFC Championship game. Part of that is too Jared Goff. He'll get you there. But look what happened in that Washington game. I mean
Lots of
that
turnovers.
yes.
I'm always taken aback, and again, same thing. I love Jared Goff. I'm always taken aback, and I would say more Lions fans are on this side that think take him ahead of Matthew Stafford. Um, he did beat Matthew Stafford head to head in the playoff game. I wonder, all things equal, if Matthew Stafford stays with this regime, how this would
Yeah,
have
but they also
looked.
got a lot more extra
They got
picks
it. They
with it.
did.
See, I'm
You're
thinking
right.
that too. Like you're right. I think that if they have Matthew Stafford with this entire regime and roster,
Yeah.
they go
Right.
further.
Absolutely. I think
He's better. He's a better quarterback. He
correct.
is.
But a lot of I know a lot of fans would disagree with that. So I wonder if we're going to take some heat for that take. I don't know. We'll
I
see.
mean, age is age. It is what it is. But I just think like if you take them at their both at their prime, there's no question.
Yeah, it was
Like
Stafford's 36 and seven
Matthew
back issues,
Stafford's
and
probably a Hall of Fame quarterback, even with only the one Super Bowl win.
yeah,
Even
it's
with the
funny you
only the
say
one.
only. I'd say, God Almighty, Lions fans here are cringing.
Yeah.
Only,
But I mean, well, that's a lot of things. Like people think Eli Manning shouldn't be or only is going to be because of the two,
hmm
just because of his number. But in the end, I think about the NFL, Pro Football Hall of Fame, it's not as snobby as baseball
no,
at
not at
all.
all.
We've had this
No,
discussion.
nothing is
So
as snobby as baseball about their Hall of
no,
Fame. So,
no. All right. What do you have as your underrated?
all right, I'm going to do two things if that's okay.
That's
And they
fine.
both go back to the '90s, and it's probably just because time dilutes things. First off, and I only thought of this because you mentioned the injury. The '91 season, the Lions suffered, offensive lineman named Mike Utley suffered a career-ending, horrifying injury, and gave a thumbs up gesture as he was leaving the field, and that kind of caught fire. So for the listener that might be under the age of God, how long ago was that now? We're looking at, man, we're getting old, Mike.
I know. Yeah.
I don't even want to do the math on that. Unfortunately, I just did in my head. It was a '91 season. Listener could do the math. So I'm going to say any listener that's under the age of 40, that season was so magical. We end up losing, an NFC Championship game that year to a much, much superior formerly Washington Redskins team. Now they're Washington Commanders. And the Washington Commanders that year were just outstanding in every conceivable way. That was Mark Rippon's, his 15 minutes of fame, and he was amazing during that year. So that season was just incredible. And a breakout player in that season is my ultimate underrated, Herman Moore, who came of age kind of during the playoffs that year. And then the next few years, and then into I believe it was 95, 96, and 97 seasons, he was a top 2 or 3 receiver in football at that time, and only because Jerry Rice was just on another planet. Sterling Sharp retired. So, I mean, Herman Moore, if you look up those numbers of those 3 seasons, he was absolutely incredible. And I remember even in the '97 season, late in the year, Lions were playing Minnesota. They needed this game. They end up getting in the playoffs with that game, and then a Week 17 victory against the Jets. Barry Sanders went over 2,000 yards, but the game against Minnesota, they were down all game, and late in the game, they made a push, and you knew exactly what play was coming on the goal line. They were going to throw a fade to him, and it didn't matter. He was that good; it couldn't be stopped. The Lions won the game on that play. He was that good. Now, Calvin Johnson is in a league of his own for Lions receivers, and I think that's another reason why a lot of Lions fans might forget how good Herman Moore was. So that's my underrated. Herman Moore, outstanding player, very underrated historically. He's my guy.
All right, excellent. My underrated is pretty basic, but I think it's something that it truly falls into the underrated. I think their uniforms, even before all the fancy ones and the third or the optional, the alternative, throughout the years, and we'll go from our childhood on, like through the '90s on, right? Like through, and when I remember back in the '90s when they were good, they played with the old throwbacks with the solid, like the silver looking helmets, and they got rid of the lion on the side, but I don't think they have a bad one in the bunch.
No, I agree.
I think and they're very underrated because you don't hear about them as you often as you do with the other teams. I think because they're just the color scheme is good. The whites when they're on the road, other than in Dallas, are good. The base helmet with bubbles, is great. The alternate stuff now they have with the more black. They have not done me wrong once in a uniform. I can't say the same for my Steelers. The Steelers general ones are great. But sometimes when they throw out these
Yeah,
alternatives, it gets a little goofy. But the Lions, and I think part of it is their colors are so good. It's not something. It's a unique mix. I think I like the blue. The Ford Field turf always looks so good. I think that's something that's a very big positive for them. And like even getting their gear always looks so good. I got to give them a huge shout out. I think that's something that's very underrated for them because they sort of seem to just be there in the middle. They're never picked
yeah,
as the worst, but I don't often see them picked as the best either. So
yeah.
I think they belong up in the best conversation. That's just my thoughts. So,
Okay, I agree. That's a good take. Good take. I agree with you.
all right, hot mic take. What do you have this week?
So the Simpsonian race is Saturday.
Yeah, we're heading back to the island
Yeah,
tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Friday.
correct. Yes. And so I've kind of talked about this before, but I'm gonna do it again. It's so striking to me. So I want to bring the listener back to late 80s, early 90s. If you heard us, if there was a song you liked that was being played on the radio, for instance, my first time doing this, um, Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock did a famous dance club song. I'm sure you're familiar with. It Takes Two.
Hmm.
And if you wanted to get that song, you either had to go buy the tape or you had to get it at the right time on the radio.
Yep.
You'd have to have your cassette ready and hit record when it played, right? And that happened. I can give several examples of that song. If you wanted a song, those were your only two options.
Yep.
And so I'm running, I'm building up to run in the Simpsonian race on Saturday. I got a Spotify account, and I got the premium recently. Um, and it struck me how many times during my run I skipped to the next song, even though I got a playlist playing that I like.
Oh,
And if
really?
this is just not the human condition of constantly wanting more, I can't think of any better example of that, where I got songs I like, but I might like something a little bit more. So I just keep flipping to the next song, hoping I like, the 99 to 100, right? And
Yep.
I do it so often. And finally, I have to discipline myself to stop messing with the radio, I always said radio, stop messing with the Spotify, just run. But it's just the human condition to me. I'm curious if the listener is like me at all, whether they're on a bike or doing whatever. If we are so spoiled that we go from the extreme of hitting record to now getting whatever you want at the push of a button, even to the point where what you want sometimes isn't even good enough. You want something else even more.
And that's why I'm sort of on the way out of the DJing business because it used to be, like with our generation and stuff, when you would go request a song or something, you wouldn't expect it instantly, or you could also be told we don't have it because you wouldn't have every song. And nowadays, people not only want know you have it, okay, or know you can get it within seconds, but it should be the next song, like
Yeah,
the very next one up, because that's the mentality of going there. And listen, I have playlists too, but here's what I do every once in a while. Do you ever go clean up your playlists?
I haven't
Like
yet. No,
so what I
it's
tend to
building up.
do is like I don't skip a ton, but all of a sudden if I notice I'm skipping a song or two,
Yeah,
um I'll go back and I'll be like, all right, I'm deleting these, and then I heard something else that I liked or heard, and I'll like, add it. I have like I said, I have one that I label it writing, which is basically meaning when I'm working on stuff. And then like I said, I mentioned before, I have the one for the it's called Library Friday. That I play in the library on Friday, and I'll go through that and cycle songs in and out. That's the thing. You got to do maintenance every once in a while. That way you're skipping less.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I'll delete something and then it'll be gone for a couple years and then I'll hear it again. I'm like, man, I
Yeah.
missed that song. And I'll put it
Yeah.
right back in,
Right.
back into rotation. And then I get annoyed with it and get it out of there. So no, but that's a good one. And again, that's one thing where I think technology again, you don't get to own it physically anymore. That's the downfall. You're paying a monthly fee. But the benefit far outweighs it. Because back in the day when we had to buy stuff, you would spend a lot of money on something that maybe was only about 2 or 3 tracks deep on a CD, or a cassette if we're going way back, and you had all this other stuff that just wasn't that good, right? Like for the most
Right.
part.
No, and
And
I remember, Mike, I had Oasis, one of my favorite bands, had a song called Whatever that was an import, and you could not find it anywhere. And I remember summer of '99, I was in Borders in Dearborn, and I found it, and I paid $15 for 3 songs, but I was so excited. Now you go to YouTube and get it for free, like you don't physically own it, I guess, but you don't have to pay for anything. It's just incredible how much we've evolved technologically, and yet at the same time, like I said, it's still not enough for me. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
yeah. All right, mine's really simple. We're recording this on the 13th of August. We start school or after Labor Day. There are some school districts that start before Labor Day. Um, Still no budget from Lansing, and I don't even see stuff on the news about
No,
meeting or talking. Like, and we had, and Senator Darren Camilleri was on. He's the chair of the Education Senate Committee, and from what I've read and know is they have a budget, right? They passed this one in the Senate, the House passed one, and there's nothing going on. And like their old deadline used to be July 1st because that was the deadline. That's
right,
the deadline for schools. Like locally, Gibraltar School District has to have a budget set by July 1st, and they did. The problem is they're trying to set a budget. Not, I guess it's question mark for incoming money. You know what I mean? Like that makes things difficult. I mean, you can guess, and then there's, and I'm sure like knowing people that these district leaders, they reach out to people in Lansing and say, hey, what's worst case scenario? So we could, that's what you do when you budget, right? You always
right,
like, so maybe they're doing that, but but one thing I want to use as an example is the free lunch and breakfast. That was part of last year's budget, right? That every student in Michigan,
hmm,
and some of them start within the next
yeah.
week or two.
So now
So
what?
that's currently not there, I'd imagine. So if
I
it's
you
not there, you're charging people the first days. So, but as these are the kind of things where like schools want to get this information out to people,
right,
and these are the things that parents complain about. Well, I normally don't like to pass the buck, but it is 100% Lansing's responsibility, and this is the lack of, and now it's to the point of okay, you didn't make July 1st, that's fine. You still got all of July and part of August. Well, it's now August 13th,
yeah.
or in the case of when this
August
episode comes
15th
out,
when
the
this, yeah,
17th, or yeah, I'm sorry, August 15th. What are we doing? Like, they talk about teachers being incompetent, or police or firemen being incompetent. I mean, this is from the highest levels. Like, get in there. This is something that has to be done.
right,
Like, buckle up. It's divided government. The Democrats have 2/3. You guys have one. The Republicans have 1/3. Get together and pass a budget.
yeah,
Like, and that's the entire budget. By the way, we're not just talking. There's no school budget and there's no state budget.
yeah,
And the states, unlike the federal government, which I saw were at record deficits, the state's budget has to be a balanced budget.
yeah,
You cannot run at a deficit with a
right.
state. So I mean, I'm guessing hopefully by next week's episode, but who knows? I don't know.
If I'm betting, I mean, if you're betting, would you bet on it? I'm going to say it's not.
I'm going to
We'll
take the
still be
over of next week's episode, but prior to Labor Day.
okay. I'll agree.
I mean,
They'll
it has to be prior to Labor Day,
have
right?
you. One would think, but if
Well, if
nothing else,
well,
go
what's
ahead.
the state's deadline? Theirs is October 1st, like for the state budget.
I think you're right. And so what
Because like the
happens if
state can the state can go into a shutdown, much like the federal government. Like that's
yeah,
the end game.
and that so what happens at that point?
I
Is
I, I
it
don't know. I
you
don't.
fall back to?
Years
last year.
ago, we'd get into this. Remember, there'd always be a threat, and like they'd finish it last minute. We never shut down as a
And
state,
maybe that's what's going to happen, and maybe that the nuclear option is going to happen. But yeah, I'm curious what would
and there's certain
happen.
people. There's certain people that can't be off. Like
Right.
like my wife's field, the gaming operators. They're not. They can't. They have to work. I'd assume it's
Obviously,
unpaid.
obviously, police and fire. Yeah, I don't know.
State police, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's hope it doesn't get this. All right. Well, next week, I actually start some of my pre-days. You were in working as well, going
I
212,
was.
working
Yeah.
with Miss Sims. I go in, I work 3 days, prep days next week on Thursday. And I also moved Nate into Michigan State next Wednesday. So big days coming up.
Oof, wow. How
Yeah.
you feeling?
Good, good. He's ready. He's got his dorm assignment. He's got his season tickets to the Spartans. Football, he's bought his own membership. That works differently. Like you earn points and you sort of work your way down as a freshman year in the upper bowl to begin. Well, you can't get every game. You get this year they got a big game. They got a big game in the Breslin Center. Duke comes to the Breslin Center.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He can now. I assume he's a Michigan State fan. Sitting next to him at the Michigan versus number one ranked Oregon Ducks game, and he got up to cheer for a play, and a fan behind him asked him to sit down. So when he goes to Michigan State, when they play, like that is the stereotypical the Michigan fan that gets made fun of. I mean,
I think it's gonna be a little different in East Lansing.
one would think, and like he said, they're playing the number one team in the country, and I got to sit
Yeah.
down. Like
Yeah.
after a play, this wasn't even. So
No.
yeah,
He did mention today though that he may sell this Penn State ticket because that's drawing a big number already from like out of state people
yeah,
because
I can
Penn
imagine.
State's
Oh
ranked.
man, Nate, don't do it though. Penn State is supposed to be. They're being compared to the last 2 years of Michigan and Ohio State, where it's a very veteran
Well,
team and
they got a very easy schedule too. They're off.
easy
They're pre. They're
schedule. Yeah, man, I saw that. That is a
if
that's
James Franklin can't do it this year,
yeah,
it's
and
not going to
again,
happen.
veteran quarterback, two good running backs. This is a very comparable team to the last two national champions. Um, I God, man, to have the Happy Valley fans come into East Lansing that week late in the season and potentially take over a
Yeah,
stadium. That's
but
a
man, $200 to a
I
college kid.
know, I know. It's
That's a
easy for
lot.
me to say,
Heck,
but
$200 to me.
yeah,
I'll take it. So,
right.
all right, everybody, have a great week, and we will see you next week.